This is a game about climbing ladders and yelling. I think. Well, whatever it is, you can call me Ezekiel. I'm going to be teaching you how to play Mount and Blade Warband. Let's jump in.
In the beginning.
Character creation.
Welcome to character creation. Choose the noble background if you want to get into the grand strategy side of things faster. If you want a slower boil, just be a poor person. On this screen, you customize your starting stats. Attributes each give a small bonus, but their real value relates to skills. A skill can never be more than a third of its base attribute. Skills help determine things like weapon damage, what kind of horse you can ride, and how many future slaves, prisoners, you can transport. Last, we have weapons proficiencies. They increase damage for melee weapons and accuracy for ranged weapons. Don't forget to make your character look like an abomination. Once your character is done, choose the kingdom you want to start in. This only affects where you start on the map. I'll go into the kingdoms themselves later. Welcome to Calradia. Ooh look, a mugger. Beat him up. Here comes another one. Wait, he wants you to save his brother? Whatever, just do what he wants. He'll give you money for it. Once you're done with that, it's time to get into the real game. Well, the real games. Mount and Blade is actually in two parts, the grand strategy map and the action strategy battles. I'll go over the map first. The world is covered in settlements. These settlements can be villages, castles, or towns. The game features a simulated economy. Villagers bring raw resources to towns who refine them into goods. Castles don't take part in the economy, but they do determine who controls the villages, meaning they can redirect the flow of resources. Caravans trade surplus goods between towns, giving them access to goods they can't produce themselves. So where do you fit in all of this? If you want to get anywhere in Mount and Blade, you'll need money. A good way to earn money is through questing. At the start of the game, it seems like the only way to get quests is from lords. But that's a lie! The game won't tell you this, but the village and town screens don't list all of your options. You have to walk around a town or village yourself to find the guild master or village elder. Their quests give rewards the lords don't offer. I have no idea why the game hides them. You can also earn money by looting enemies after battle and trading. All of these methods involve a lot of work though. There's a much better way to earn money without doing anything at all. Capitalism. Once you get enough money for your initial investment, go to the guildmaster in the nearest town and ask to build each type of productive enterprise. Don't actually build it yet. The guildmaster will tell you how profitable each one will be. Find the most profitable enterprise for that town and build it. Next, you should reinvest your profits in building more enterprises. You can only have one enterprise per town, but there are a lot of towns. Soon you'll be swimming in money.
Look at this fat, disgusting piece of trash. Built like a damn deep freezer.
Damn, Gunny!
For me? Yeah, you fucking pogue. You look like you don't have what it takes to be a Marine.
Why the hell are they giving each other chest bumps?
So now you have more money than the king. But this isn't an economics game, this is a war game. That means you'll need a warband. You can get raw recruits from villages and train them through fighting. The big issue is that you'll have to replace the losses from the fights, and then train the replacements. There are two ways to get around this. If you develop a good relationship with a village, of hiring and maintaining these high-level troops won't ever be a problem, making you completely self-sufficient. Just remember to have food. You don't have to build an army exclusively out of faceless mooks. You can recruit unique characters in taverns. They use the same leveling system you do. This means that you shouldn't waste your skill points on party skills. Let your companions sink their levels into those while you work on leadership and personal skills. Now that we're trained, let's fight.
That's a nice head you have on your shoulders.
You attack and block in 4 directions. If a block's direction corresponds to an attack's direction, the attack is blocked. Shields can block an attack from any direction, but they can break. This game isn't called Blade Warband, it's called Mount and Blade Warband. Riding a horse can make you much more powerful than when on foot. If you attack someone while riding at high speed, you can do more than double damage to them. But be careful, enemies can also do double damage to you if they hit you while you're riding at high speeds. You don't have to fight alone. In fact, you're not even supposed to. You have an entire army to command. Before battle, you can organize your troops into control groups. You select them on the battlefield with the number keys. You control them using the function keys. You actually have quite a bit of control over your army. You can tell your troops to adopt tighter or looser formations, hold an open fire, mount and dismount, and tons of other useful things. The only thing they can't do is change which direction they face, as individual soldiers and formations at large will always face the enemy.
And this is where I'd put a trophy. If I had one!
Renown serves two main purposes. The first is that it lets you have a larger warband. The second is that it gates your access to late game content. You gain renown by winning battles, tournaments, and a few other things. Tournaments, by the way, are a great way to make early game money by placing bets on yourself. If there's a feast going on at the same time as the tournament, placing highly in it will let you join the feast, giving you access to the kingdom's lords and their daughters. You heard me right. Mountain Blade Warband is also a dating sim. God help us all. I mean, just look at these lovely options. Hey, it could be worse. The game could be in this art style.
You are English type, sir. Well, what are you then? I'm French. Why do you think I have this outrageous accent, you silly king?
Let's go over the factions. In the middle of the map, you'll find Swadia. They have the best heavy cavalry in the game. Everything else they have is average. Next up are the Vaegrs. They have the best archers in the game. The rest of their lineup is good, but a bit odd. For example, their heavy infantry don't use shields, preferring two-handed weapons. This means they're vulnerable to almost everything, but they're great at killing infantry who use shields. Overall, quite niche. Next, we have the Kargat Khanate. They're the Mongols. They're the only faction to feature horse archers. The Nords have great shock infantry. Seriously, Huskarls will mess you up. Everything else they have sort of just exists. Next up is the best faction, Rhodoks. They're an infantry-only faction, with the best crossbowmen in the game. Their heavy infantry aren't great at killing enemies, but they're also hard to kill, making Rhodoks extremely good at defending castles. Last is the Saranid Sultanate. They have the second best heavy cavalry in the game, falling barely behind Swadia's. The rest of their army is subpar though.
Vassals.
Once you've decided which faction you like best and have gained enough renown, you should look into becoming a vassal. Becoming a vassal will let you take part in faction wars and hold fiefs. To become a vassal, just go to the faction's leader and ask to become one. If you don't have enough renown, you can try to become a mercenary instead, which is the same as a vassal, but you can't hold fiefs or become marshal. Upon becoming a vassal, you'll either be given a fief or be granted one as soon as it becomes available. Fiefs give you taxes. You can also build buildings in them. Every realm has a marshal. The marshal is sort of the commander of the realm's lords. I say sort of because no one actually has to listen to him. He can try to gather all of the faction's lords into one army, but if they don't like him, they'll just ignore him. If you want to become marshal, you'll need a lot of renown, and good relationships with the lords so you can actually accomplish something. The most important thing a marshal does is to lead sieges.
No, now go away or I shall taunt you a second time. Right.
In its effort to take over the world, a faction must conquer castles and towns. To do this, it needs to win a siege. Sieges take way too long to actually win through starvation, so they're almost always won through assaults. Assaults are just like regular battles, but with the defender defending a castle. Obviously, the defender has a massive advantage. Unless you can find a way to cheese it, you'll need to outnumber the defenders by a lot. Once the settlement is taken, the faction leader will choose a vassal to grant it to. If you personally took the settlement, you can request the liege granted to you. If he doesn't, a very interesting option will present itself.
For if by some minute chance you meet the challenge, your reward will be great.
Behold!
It's almost harvesting season.
Whoopsie.
Now behold!
If your request for the fief is denied, you can start a rebellion. Rebellion isn't exactly the right word though. Far more accurate would be to say that you're starting a brand new kingdom. There are other ways to start your own kingdom, such as taking a castle or town yourself while not serving anyone, or by supporting a claimant. Your new kingdom is going to start with much fewer lords than the others, so make sure you're ready to fight multiple outnumbered battles. You can mitigate some of this weakness by turning your companions into vassals by giving them fiefs. That was the last major feature of single-player Mountain Blade Warband, but I do want to talk about the multiplayer real quick.
I've heard worse. You liar! Come on, you pansy!
Despite being quite old, Mountain Blade Warband has a surprisingly active multiplayer community. Most of the servers are standard game modes like Team Deathmatch. There are also survival modes, and some servers featuring game modes which require mods to play. Explore to see what you like. If you want to get into the player versus player modes, know that fighting is a bit odd. PvP combat focuses heavily on trying to disguise the direction and timing of your attacks while trying to anticipate the enemies. You disguise your attacks by spinning or blocking just before an attack lands to do a feint. The best way to learn is to watch others. You'll get the hang of things pretty quick. That was Mountain Blade Warband. Feel free to ask any questions you have in the comments. I'll get back to you pretty quick. Up next is... oh dear, that does not look pleasant.
Sword in hand and rein in hand, he rides across the plain, knowing as he gallops that he can't go home again. Born and raised in Macke town, the blacksmith's only son, his neighbors hound and hunt him for a deed he has not done.